Welcome back to part two of my conversation with Thea Lissi. If you caught part one, you'll know we're dealing with something pretty heavy but incredible important stuff here. Go back and listen. If you've not, make sure you go to part one first. So just click back in the playlist, it's right there for you. But tonight, we're going deeper into the complexities of healing from childhood trauma while trying to navigate modern relationships. Thea gets brutally honest about trust, emotional safety, and the messy reality of dating in today's world. We also explore her complicated feelings around family dynamics and loss. It isn't easy listening all the time, but it's real listening. That's the thing. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. Here's part two. Please go subscribe to the channel. We're on Spotify and Apple too. Go to the social media networks. We're all on there. And go and follow Thea's story and follow her music. Listen to it. It's just amazing. I've got a favourite. You and I. Go and listen to that one. There's loads more though. Permanent Ink. Brilliant. Go and listen to it. Anyway, it's Thea. No, thanks for sharing that part of the journey, because it is important that we're vulnerable, because it creates a safe space for everybody else to be vulnerable, and that's the whole point. But you said at the beginning of the episode around your family. Is family the right word? I didn't want to isolate parents or anyone like that, but family pretended that things didn't happen. Sorry. Where would we begin then in your journey where the things that would be covered up started in your journey?
I mean, as long as I can remember, honestly, since I was born. So,
Really?
yeah. So and I think like I know there's a good bit of my childhood that like I don't remember, but like I remember a lot, but there's a lot that I don't remember, probably for good reason.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like some of them still don't talk about it and accept it. Some of us have finally grown to, acknowledge and accept and find healing. And but yeah, it's one of those things. And I feel like a lot of people like grow up that way, especially in the South, like where I'm from. It's just so common to everyone's so worried about what people think and
Mm.
status and looking like you have it all together. Um, and to me, I'm just like, that's a bunch of bull. Like covering it up only makes it easier for them to get away with it. So, yeah.
So you said you're one of 11. Out of the 11, how many would you say? Well, how many is in the same position as you, willing and wanting to just not suppress it anymore?
God, I would say maybe four or five.
I know you
The
all
rest,
aligned in this journey. Are you all in yeah, is the word aligned the best one? Yeah, are you all aligned in sharing your journey with people?
I think I know one of my sisters, her name is Ashley. She's very much like me, like very open about it, very, you know, shares the story, if she's asked and whatever. The others, I think, less publicly would be willing to be open about it, but they're at
Mm.
least like accepting and not condoning of the behaviors that continue on in, certain people in our family. So yeah.
Paint that picture for us then. Growing up, what was family life like, and what were some of the things that you went through as a whole?
Yeah, so we were very poor, but no one would really know that. But we're so being one of 11, that's expensive, to feed that many kids, and I just don't even know why they would have that many. But and majority of us were born at home, no doctors, no nurses, like nothing. My dad cut the umbilical cord with kitchen scissors, and just we went about our day, and we somehow all are alive and well. And then he was very abusive in many different ways, in all the ways. So, but that to me, like we didn't know that that wasn't normal, until I was much older. Did I realize like that's abuse? And there was always a threat of, social services getting called on us, but he would tell us, like they're like, don't, if you say anything, then you're going to be separated from each other and you will never see your siblings again, which I guess is probably true, but at the same time, allowed for him to hide a lot of things. And we went to public school for a little bit when we were younger, and then that's when he started homeschooling us, I think because you know, you can only show up to school with bruises over your whole body so many times before they're like, okay, something isn't right. Um, and then
Yeah.
he went to prison whenever I was 13-ish, so right before my high school year, my first year of high school. So,
Can I
for
ask? Can I ask what you went to prison for?
yeah, so he for molesting children. I guess I don't want to like say who, but I mean, I guess it's
Yeah.
on the internet, I'm sure. But so he had finally got, caught for that, and so that was a good thing. But then at that time, we were still so brainwashed, so I was like devastated, and didn't,
Yeah.
like know what to believe at that point. And then my mom stayed with him till I think it was about 2 years into him being into prison. Um, and we would have to go visit him every weekend, and it changed. Sometimes it would be in Monroe, which is like 4 hours from here, and then they moved him to a different prison that was like 2 hours away, so and I think having that distance from him was whenever I started to realize how much like of brainwashing was happening, and how many things that like he had told us that weren't true, and just the reality of the situation. And then my grandparents, on my mom's side, 'cause my dad's parents had both died, long before this, but their side of the family had finally, convinced my mom to leave, and that she was safe to leave while he was in prison, because he had tried to kill her multiple times, like in front of us even. And so she finally left, and divorced him while he was in prison. And then yeah, that's, I guess,
How long did he get?
he 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
So, and she left 2 years into that.
Yeah, and it was the trial went on for years. I don't even remember how many years, but it was a lot of years before he even was convicted. So it was like the few years before he actually went, we were going to trial, and it was someone on my mom's side of the family that he had like got caught for, um, and it was actually on Father's Day that he did it, ironically. And so then we were like hiding from the cops for a bit with him, and then I guess, the he turned himself in or something, but then they had the whole trial, so then he was living at home, but we weren't allowed to talk to my mom's side of the family at all during this time, because like he was, convinced us that they were lying about it, and all these different things. And so it wasn't
But he
until, yeah,
he said that you weren't allowed. So I assumed that the
yeah,
government, the authorities said you weren't allowed to. So, but your father
yeah,
said you weren't allowed to.
yeah,
Right, got
like,
you. Yeah,
yeah, he wouldn't let us because the trial was going on and whatever. And he convinced us that, he didn't do it, and that, whatever. And so,
yeah.
um, yeah, so that was that whole journey. And then he got out right before I graduated high school. I believe it was in the March before my graduation. Um, and then he, um, you know, I don't know if I should go into the rest of that, part, but,
Th-
you know,
That's up to you. Obviously, you can go as deep as you want on here, but obviously,
yeah,
I'm very aware of what you obviously understand your life at a much deeper level and how it might impact. So you go as far as you want and comfortable, but you can go as deep as you want on
yeah,
that for me, just so you know.
okay. Yeah, so I think like just the full, thing. So he went to prison, she finally left him, and then after he had gotten out, he kept showing up at the house, and he would like threaten to take his own life, and all the different things, and go look for the gun in the shed, and and at this point, like, I was just terrified of him, and I didn't want to be around him. And I think my body like remembered things that I didn't even really like, that I had suppressed at this point. So just like being around him was just like, I don't even know how to explain it, but I just like, I didn't like it. I didn't want to be around him, but then I felt horrible because I could see the pain like in his like eyes whenever we would be around him, and but we didn't want to be. And so um and then he showed up one day at the house, and me and my sister Tammy were there alone, and I remember just being like terrified. And our trailer, we lived in like this trailer with holes in the floor, and it was very like not nice.
Is it like a trailer
Um,
park you were lived in?
yeah, yeah. And we
Yeah.
lived in a camper for a while too, for many years, but like at this point we were back in the trailer and but it was just like falling apart and so the doors didn't have locks and so her and I went and hid in the room and she hid like on the bunk bed. There was like a top bunk and she hid between the wall and the mattress and I hid in the closet like underneath clothes and he came in and he like found me and he was just like so upset and he's like, "Why are you hiding?" And then I felt like horrible and so I feel like my whole childhood of like from finally awakening and realizing that like it wasn't okay what was happening to us and whatever. I was always like feeling this guilt of even feeling the way that I felt, especially in moments like that where he just like didn't understand it because I think he truly believed that he didn't do the things that he did and like he had convinced himself even and so then he was dating this lady in Baton Rouge and he was still on probation so he wasn't supposed to be living outside of St. Martinville Parish and she lived in Baton Rouge and when her ex-husband found out what he went to prison for and they had two young daughters he called the police and so he was arrested again and then she bailed him out that day and he told her, you know, if you don't hear from me, tell Josh, which is one of my older brothers, to come check on me. And then he texted us all, I love you and forgive you. And we didn't text him back because it was just always like him trying to pin us between him and my mom's arguments and whatever. And I honestly I was just like, forgive me for what, you know, like and I think that's kind of how we all felt at that point. And then he took his life that night and so and then within 6 months of that, my last two living grandparents died too, both of my mom's parents. So my grandpa died a month before, and my grandmother died like 3 months after that. So it was just like um, yeah, a big part of like why I write. And yeah,
How how did you when you didn't reply? How did you find out that you? Sorry, my voice. How did you find out that he had ended his life?
well, so it was not until so this was like technically Saturday night that he had did that, and it was Sunday slash Monday morning, I guess technically it was like 2 in the morning whenever I got a call. Um, because so my brother, they had did a wellness check and I didn't even know all of this was going on. And I had work at like 4 in the morning on Monday. And so um I guess that's like I had an alarm set anyway to wake up early and then my phone rang and I got the call because my they wouldn't do the wellness check, I guess, with those you the police aren't allowed to like break into the home if it's locked. And so
Mm,
Josh knew where the key was, and so he went and found him. And then I don't even remember honestly which sibling it was that called me to tell me. Um,
yeah. Well, take a moment if you need it. How what was the next few weeks like after that? Because obviously this is obviously painful for you, but you also went through a very difficult time with him. I'm sensing maybe mixed feelings.
yeah,
I could project and probably predict what you went through, but how was it for you for the next few weeks? Was there a sense of fuck, we could change? Was there a sense of relief?
it
What did
was
you go through?
it was all of it. Like honestly, I feel like even to this day, it's like very conflicting. You know, it's I was angry like at him for doing that and then sad because at the end of the day he was still my dad so it's like you still love them even though they're like so messed up and they've done so many horrible things it's there's always that hope that maybe they're going to change um and so then that was gone um and then I felt guilty for feeling sad because of all the things that he had done and the people that he had harmed including you know me and but then I also felt relief because that was like that fear of him and was gone, you know. So it's just it's hard to even explain, but
Mm,
it's like and that is something that I think that made it so difficult to work through and even still it's like there's so many layers to it because it's like every emotion that you feel conflicts with the next. And so it's it's like how do you where do you even begin, you know? And so yeah, it was a lot. And then I feel like I was emotionally just drained after those like first few weeks. And then I had a boyfriend at the time, and he like broke up with me on the day of my dad's funeral. Uh real real 10 out of 10 guy.
Why did he
But
do
you know,
that?
I have maybe it was too much for him, I guess. I don't know. And so it was just it was and then I had found out like a friend, I had forgot about all of this still just now, but that was hooking up with my other ex, and I had just found out like she tells me they're living together. So it was just like, I mean, so many things. So I think I after like a few weeks just kind of shut down emotionally without realizing it. And that was that way for a year or more. And I remember it wasn't until I was like watching TV, and it was one of those like dog commercials where they're like show you the homeless dogs, and they're like trying to raise money. And like I like animals, but I'm not like a huge animal lover, like, want a bunch of pets because we always had them, and my parents didn't like take care of them. So I just learned to not have like a connection, I guess, in that way. And I would cry to like even those commercials, and just like literally everything would make me cry. And that's when I realized I was like, okay, I need to obviously go to therapy maybe. And like that was something that my family didn't do. It was like very taboo and whatever. And so I finally did and started working through therapy. And luckily there was this therapist that like heard my story, and she like offered to give me therapy for free because I couldn't afford it, and we didn't have health insurance or anything like that. So um
That was
yeah,
nice.
so yeah, that was honestly probably saved my life in a lot of ways. But
Yeah. What? Where does the little white house come into this then?
so that's the house that I was born in, and I lived in until I was probably 3 or 4, and it's in
Mm.
Franklin, which is like an hour from where I am right now. But um and that's where like a lot of my memory is like shut off in some way, but it's where it all began, and where I know certain things like that happened to me that I don't like to think about, but that, still affect me to this day happen.
And
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 yeah,
you remember those years because I don't really remember much before being
yeah,
4. You remember those memories
I
in that
just
little white
remember
house.
certain things, it's like there's
Yeah.
certain moments. Like I remember hiding in it, which I didn't even know there were stairs in the house, but I had asked my mom about this recently because I had like this memory. And I don't know if this is just like a trauma thing, or if other people experience this too, but I have a lot of like memories that sometimes it's like I always question it. I'm like, did that really happen? Am I making this up in my head? And I think it's because we were brainwashed so much and told that reality wasn't reality if it didn't fit the narrative that he wanted. And so it's like made me question myself a lot growing up. And so whenever I had like this memory, I wanted to ask her about it. And I just remembered like hiding in a cupboard, like on and there was like footsteps over it, and I was like looking through a hole of something, and there was like this green wall. And I was just thinking, and I thought it was like, in that house. And so I had asked her about it, and apparently there was like a cabinet, like a pantry underneath some stairs that went up to a room that was up there. And I didn't even realize there was a second floor in that house. So I thought surely this memory wasn't valid. And so I guess that's what I was hiding in. And then the room that I was born in was like these like throw up green walls, which is what I saw like through the hole in the memory that I had. So, it's like the things that I do remember have been confirmed in like different ways.
Yeah.
Um, and then the things that I don't remember, it's like I just have like a sense of knowing that certain things like happen there because I just think of I can't even think about it without, you know.
Yeah. Mm. Do you've clearly lived in fear? Would you say you still live in fear?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, it's like I feel safe in the physical sense now,
Hmm.
I live in a safe neighborhood. I have a gun and I know how to use it, so I'm like, but I make sure that my daughter is safe, so that's like my main thing. But but emotionally and like mentally, not always. That's something I like struggle with is to feel safe with others or to, allow those walls to
Mm.
dissipate and like fully let people in is like something that I struggle with, and I think that version of safe is something I have to work really hard for daily,
Is there anyone that you've let in? Is there anyone that you've let in since? Feel? I mean, I don't even know how to frame this question, I suppose. But yeah, have you, apart from obviously your ex-husband and relation, because obviously you've got a daughter. My voice has gone all off.
You good?
Sorry. I think I've gone listening to your words have kind of just
Yeah,
clogged up my throat for some reason.
yeah, yeah,
No, it's obvious. It's obvious why. But
yeah,
yeah, I've never had to clear my throat so much. Um, have you let anyone in the last 5 years that you felt safe with, whether it's worked out or not, in terms of any relationships, friendships, even? Have you let
yeah,
anyone in that's it's worked out as a friend and you've benefited from?
yeah. I mean, I think one. I dated this guy, because not even my ex-husband, that was part of the problem, was like he wouldn't let me talk about anything. Like if I would try
Mm,
to talk about like my dad or try, like because my dad's birthday's on Valentine's Day, so that's always a hard day. Or like on
no.
his death anniversary, it's a difficult day, and he just didn't let me talk about it. He'd be like, "Oh, let's just talk about something else," and whatever. So it's like I never felt safe with him, and that was a problem. So I dated this guy and for about a year, and I think that was the first person that I ever like felt really safe with emotionally, and that like I fully could talk about everything, um and so I guess a lot of the struggle that I've had recently has been because we're no longer together, and he's completely switched up,
Yeah,
and so that's been hard because it kind of just reiterates that belief that I have that it's like anybody that you let in is gonna ultimately let you down. So
yeah, yeah. I want to dig deep into the effects on individuals, yourself, but we've not really discussed your mum in all of this. And I obviously don't know the integral parts. What did your mum go through in all of this? Was it difficult for her? Did she just let it? What paint this
yeah,
picture about your mum, because
yeah,
this couldn't have been easy on her. Whether it came across easy to her, whether she played a part in it,
yeah,
was there an element of her knowing it was wrong? I don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
let's talk about that part.
That's something I guess I struggle with still because I think as an adult I always felt like I never really had much of a relationship with her,
Mm,
and she's very like emotionally just distant, not like there really. It never has been. But I try to be like understanding, I guess, in some sense, because I know like what it must have been like and how manipulative he was, and she probably felt like she didn't really have much of a choice. Like if she left, like she had told me recently that he told her if she would leave that he would leave the country with us. And so she felt like her only way to even semi protect us was to stay. And he would anytime like she would find out that he was cheating or anything like that, because he did that a lot, he would tell us that she was demon possessed and like leave the house and unplug the car, like the tubes on the engine, so that she couldn't like leave until she would say that like she was lying. And then even right before he went to trial, he had actually sent her to like got her hospitalized in a crazy home, like convinced us all that she was, like whatever. And so he was very manipulative and very good at, and he was a beautiful man, very charming, very like, so I think he got away with a lot because of that, and used religion to to back up, everything that he would do and say. And so I think maybe she did, the best that she could. I wish she would have, left sooner, but it's so easy to say what I
Mm,
would have done if not being the parent or not being, in those
yeah,
shoes. And I think she had a traumatic childhood too. And so, um, I don't know. I feel like now I see that she's trying in some ways to, open up and to do better, I guess. But yeah, it was, it was difficult. And even still, it's like to this day, I think I've only seen her cry like once in my entire life. And I don't even know if it was crying, or if it was just like semi-emotional, but she's a master of just no emotions. And so that I imagine is probably because of him. And she had told me, I guess like a month ago when we had talked about it, because I had brought it up to her, um, asking her why she doesn't show emotion and, anything like that. And she told me that he would say, like, if she would ever cry about anything, that he would say that she was trying to manipulate us and make people feel bad for her and blah, blah, blah. So then she, you know, stopped allowing her emotions to show because he
yeah.
would say that. But yet he would literally use crying and like cry whenever he did something wrong and whatever to actually manipulate us. So it's just wild how they can turn those tables on you, you know?
Absolutely. And with maturity and life experience now, you can have that understanding a little bit more. And it is easy for us to turn around and say, well, this is what I would have done. But unless we're actually in that one situation on your mum's head, it's really, really hard to say, isn't it? What's your relationship like with your mum now? Because you've just mentioned you spoke to her
Yeah.
about it a month ago.
Yeah.
Are you guys close now?
Mm,
Is there any blockages? Is there a
yeah.
bridge up that you both need to cross and meet at? Join us tomorrow to hear more from today's incredible guest and learn valuable insights to help you lead your own way. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you then.